Okay. Recording is on.
Okay. So welcome to the last day of this meeting. We were planning to discuss today to try to wrap up and build some working groups to try to follow up all the discussions and try to build on what we have been discussing this week. There was also a presentation by Beatrice. So do we start with that, or do we start with the working group discussion? Arno, what do you think?
I think it's better that Beatrice, if you're ready, maybe it's better that you share.
I think so too. Yes.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Hi. Yes, I can start sharing my Microsoft project. Okay. I'm going to make full screen. Okay. It's going to be very quick, so don't worry. Okay, first is the IHDEA Confluence. We are going to have the own space on Confluence, not anymore on the Heliophysics public archive area. So then this is the URL. Right now is private, but it will be everything publicly visible as we agreed. And then this is up to be decided, no? If you want to have a restricted area for the executive committee pages or whatever, but everything is configurable. That's the good thing. For this, the contributors must sign in, so credentials are required to be able to create and edit pages, to make comments where your name appears instead of being anonymous comments, and also, well, you can get notification with the pages updated, or you can have actions associated to your name. And yes, we can define maybe some curators or kind of leaders of the working groups that let's say, control a bit, no, the population of these pages. So as we say, the contributors must to sign in with the login at the top corner. There's going to be a self-registration page, which is coming soon. I'm saying next Monday because I'm not sure if for tomorrow it will be already everything set up with a nice text. But if you are very, very eager to start contributing and you don't have yet access to the pages, then just drop me an email and I will figure out how to do it. And I want to just have you a quick view, for example, of the. Okay, this is the self-registration page I was talking about. Here, users will be able to search to. Okay, now to introduce and register themselves in the IHDEA, in the IHDEA. I was missing projects in the IHDEA group. And then, I mean, having the working groups, the good thing of having such is that we can also make use of some Jira projects to do tracking of actions, activities, or any other tasks, and then this is very easy to have them reported on Confluence pages. As this is an example of how the actions are seen, or we can just simply have a very quick display of all the actions pending and which is the status of the actions. And I think I'm not sure if you want to have right now kind of a simple demo on how to create a page, or you want me to leave this for later, or we can just create a kind of quick start guide for users.
Well, if it's simple to demonstrate, just go through a few steps to see how a group could be created. That would be useful, or how to join a group.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that we already have logins, is that right?
Not everyone I check, and the right now the non-ISA contributors are Singh, Aaron Roberts, Todd, and Bob, maybe. So no, most of you will need to register.
Okay, because it said something about a Cosmos account. I think a lot of us have that, but that doesn't seem to work.
No, because Confluence needs specific license. So you need to be specifically added to the group.
And then it's still the Cosmos login. It's just you have to be in a certain group, or?
Yes, it's the Cosmos login, and then you need to be in a specific group. So if you already have a Cosmos login, just let me know. I mean, I already have it. This is the email I registered with, and then it will be just a matter of adding you to the proper group.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to start again. So if we go to the IHDEA page, we are in the pages. So we want to create, for example, a new working group area. No, so it's we just click on create, and then a new page will be created. Test. Test the working group, and you just publish.
Does this function?
So,
Does this function
yes.
like Google Docs, where it looks like you've got a editing bar and can multiple people edit at once?
Yes. In fact, for example, if now Sing is logging in or Arnaud or so anyone that logins, if
Arnaud probably can try because he has a login.
Yeah.
yes, and then you will see. You see here, I'm editing. This is my logo. So I am Beatriz. Yeah, editing, and then
No, we get the idea.
okay. While Arnaud,
So multiple people can edit it at the same time, like Google Docs.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that.
It depends on the version, but on the latest versions, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we've used this just a little bit at Iowa.
I can put the link here. Okay. So and okay, now we are in this page. Okay. Arnaud is writing a comment, and we wanted to edit both at the same time so you can see. Okay, here is Christoph. Hello.
Okay, I am logged into the system, but from when I logged in, the default page is the third IDEA meeting page. How do I get to where you are?
Yes, I have put the link in the chat.
Put the link in the chat.
It's just use Cosmos XINT, such a wiki, and then IDEA. Okay, here is Arnaud.
Yes.
But I'm not seeing the test working group page.
I
There
don't
you
know.
go. I see. Yeah, it's not obvious.
Okay. The good thing is, I mean, you can always bookmark a specific, for example, page or whatever. And then if we want to create sub-pages, you just need to be on the page where you want to create sub-pages. And it's simple. Sub-page created. One.
So let me ask too. So if somebody does not have access to Confluence, can they still see these pages? Because like if I click on your link, it just takes me to a login page.
Yes, no, I mean it's going to be public either end of the business today or first thing in the morning tomorrow. The thing is, this is because we taking the space, the Confluence space, to be one itself, not to be anymore under the heliophysics public area.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be public, and then it will be as the pages that are now in the heliophysics public area. So even if you are not logged in, you will see the content. Unless something in some specific pages are restricted.
When you create a working group page, that page shows up in, I guess, in the general area where you have other activities going on. So you have to be careful what you click on.
I think probably the best way to use on this is what Beatrice mentioned about the curator. We should probably agree on the top level structure.
Yeah.
So what you would see on the left side, so the top level working groups or meetings, and then the best is to define a curator for each of the working group pages, and then to avoid that anybody adds a page randomly wherever. I mean, technically, anybody can add pages wherever, but I mean, we need to have, I think it's better to have some, let's say, usage guidelines that, with the curators for every working group or high-level coordination meetings, for example.
Yes, I can write this because we have done that for the Vespa project. So we have a page explaining what are the recommendation on how to manage pages and, for instance, to name an editor for each page or a small set of persons that can edit. That all the editing is done by that person or this small group of persons, and the proposition for changes are done through comments, either inline or at the bottom of the page, so that it can be discussed before it is modified. So this kind of thing helps a lot when you want to build the document.
Right.
And also the thing is, okay, here this page 3 can be changed as we need. So if we want to have just coordination meetings and then working groups, and below the working groups, one of the groups, is a bit up to us to decide the structure that we want to. It's the same as in the same way as you will structure a wiki.
Yeah.
Beatrice?
Yeah.
I'm on the page, and obviously I'm signed into Confluence, but I can't edit. So is that because you need to add me to the group?
Yeah.
Okay. And so people should email you and ask to be added to that group?
Yeah, but also I think first this discussion about the curators and who is going to be kind of maybe responsible for each of the pages and so on must took place, no? So we decide who is going to be able to make editions and add pages and so on, and who is just able to watch it or adding comments with names.
Okay, I mean, at the moment, I can't even add a comment or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what Beatrice said is that, okay, this is really the initial template. What needs to be done is to make these pages viewable to everybody, even if you don't have a login into Confluence. And then to add all the people who wants to be contributors. So, for example, Hélène, if you want to become a contributor, you need to be added to the corresponding Confluence group, so you can add comment, edit pages, and so on. And in parallel to that, so that should come soon. In parallel to that, what Beatrice is also suggesting is that we should agree at top level. Okay, what is the top level structure we want? Yes.
I think we're at the stage now where it would be nice to have a quick start guide. And doing this real time is not going to help us a lot.
No, true. Yeah.
Yeah. we do it.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so if there is no more questions, I stop sharing, or you want something else to be shown?
No, I think you can stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Baptiste, maybe you could share the notes from the day 4 for
Yes.
those who cannot.
Yeah. So what I can share, where is it? It's here. So I have, yes, I will share this window. Where is it? This one? Yes. So here I have, so I have the, yes, this is the notes for today, and I have the other notes for the other days that are behind, so we can go back. Can show them in a nicer way, easier to read. Yes. So, for the working groups, we have listed the various topics that were discussed during those 4 days, sorry. So this is a rather both long and detailed, and probably too detailed list, I think, but it really lists, I think, the topics that that has been discussed. So probably we can review this list, make sure that we don't forget anything. So the first thing that, so there are plenty of topics on space, both on the space registry organization, about naming authorities, testing and validation. We discussed that. And also on the evolution of space. There was also the implementation of simulation runs, simulation models into space. And then there was the discussion about what we do with the next version of space regarding DOIs, regarding the integration of other metadata models, like the UGONet one, the CEF, the AMDA. We discussed about assessing or using or not the UCDs from the IVOA. We discussed about consolidating the access information so that it can be, the automated processing can be done. Also, it was briefly mentioned at the beginning, integration of rocket balloons and other instruments that are not the big space missions. So that was, I think, all the topics that we tracked with Arnaud on space. If you think of anything, please shout. Then there was other topics. So there was the discussion yesterday on the coordinate system. So this is something that we should follow up. That was clear. There was also discussion on the ID website and probably also on the community awareness. That's probably the same part of thing. And there was also the idea of having either an interface or a happy working group to have a broader discussion on the evolution of happy. Any thoughts or discussion or proposition to either reorganize or take it as it is, or as you Xing, do you have any idea, comment?
Well, a couple of things you mentioned, for example, the naming authority, testing, and validation. Those two, I suppose, could be also part of Space 3.0 discussion.
Sure.
Because, you know, for example, the integration of space rocket, you know, space ground and model data. that really is very encompassing. And you could have ground-based data integration anyway.
Before you make that change, my thought is some of these topics are probably are good to work in a separate working group. But the point I want to make is the output of that working group should feed into the Space 3.0.
Yeah,
I agree.
And so I wouldn't necessarily put all the topics under Space 3.0 because collectively that's what these are doing. Mm-hmm. And not all of them, of course, Space 3.0 is really the metadata model.
Yeah.
Right. And IDEA is broader than that, right? It includes services like Happy and all that. So even things that Happy might discuss might feed into the metadata model.
Yeah.
They may recommend certain changes to the information model that need to be considered. So I guess what I'm struggling with is whether Space 3.0 itself is a topic or just a coordinated activity.
I agree with you. I think it's more like a coordinated activity. It's taking the output from working groups and see what we can put into Space 3.0.
Yes. So.
But I think the idea of the larger scale registries of, how do you connect all the different space registries? How do you make sure that everybody knows where all the Happy servers are? Those are not space concerns. That's not a data model concern. That's not a Happy, metadata concern. Those are, how do these all go together?
Right, and not every working group would actually feed in to the information model. It goes into system architecture. It goes into other services, right? I think that's what you're saying, John. That's the way I'm interpreting.
Yeah, there's a large-scale architecture. How do you put together all of these?
Right.
Like we heard recently about the registry of registries for the IVOA stuff. That's definitely not a metadata model.
We could even imagine using it if we wish.
Yes.
And declaring the space thing there. That's possible.
Right, and even the DOI discussion involves an external service called DataSite, right? And we're part of the discussion is how do we streamline that interconnection between space, metadata, and the DOI registration.
It sounds like we need a new working group that focuses on the, organization and coordination across IDEA, all the IDEA functional pieces. That's something that won't go away either. It probably will be a continual activity.
Yeah, actually, part 2 of what initially was the discussion of Space 3.0 was how can we improve the information model? We may want to reorganize it. See, that the thing with the major version release is we're free to restructure things if we want to. And one of those topics is, do we want to restructure how DOIs are represented in the information model? Do we want to represent things a little differently? Are there areas we can streamline? Do we want to drop things that are deprecated? Typically you do in a major version release. And do we want to deprecate things? So the working group on Space 3.0 is should be more focused on in what ways do we want to restructure and improve the information model overall. And there's also the other integrations that would take place from the other working groups, the recommendations, and SPACE already has a process to approve changes. and any working group could recommend those changes to the space group itself, right?
Space, in effect, already has a working group.
Yeah.
And we should probably make sure that, anybody's invited to join those space. We have bi-weekly telecoms, and we actually have every other week is space, and every other week is sort of the overarching telecom, the SMWT. So that's how we've naturally sort of divided it up.
Well, the SMWT, I think, is more an implementation for NASA.
It is, but there would be sort of a similar activity at the IDEA level, is what I'm suggesting.
I think that during the discussions that I don't think that we can solve all the topics that have been listed here or in the next months. So there is probably a need to focus on a limited set of items that interest the wider community. With this, I mean ID rather than US SMWT. So I don't know how to put this, but I agree with Todd that it's probably, I think the working, that was probably an S that we should put here, so related to something like that. So that will be several groups of people, I guess. That would, so things can be grouped, but these are different topics. And this would feed into space, I agree. But as we say, ID is not only space, so we have also to see how we can, the idea is how we can input, how can we have a structure of working group that allows to have input from a broader community than we have now, and also improve the overall ID architecture and ecosystem. So having
I have a suggestion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a suggestion for a working group. In IDEA, one of the things that IDEA wants to do is to identify standards.
Yes.
Let's say metadata standards. Right now, we have talked a lot about space, and we have also maybe entertained the fact that there could be other metadata standards out there. I think IDEA needs a working group to actually identify if there exists other viable metadata standards that we could adopt. That's not to say it's the only one, right? But it may end up saying that, well, because we have so much development on space, we might as well just invest in space and further develop any new capability into space rather than developing an entirely new set of standards. So some working group needs to look at that issue.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, there are two ways of seeing those working groups. And I've been in, so I'm working in various large scale projects. And so either you say, okay, there is a working group on data model. This is the IVOA style. And then this is ongoing discussions to produce standards. And this is a long-lasting, everlasting working group. So there's always work to do, always new project and everything. Or you go, the other option is to have what is done in the Research Data Alliance, RDA, which is also worldwide. And here the working groups have a very specific topic, and there is 6 months to 1 year to come to a recommendation. If within 1 year there is no recommendation, it means that we go to another topic. So this is completely different. Those are completely different ways of doing it. It feels to me that, I don't know, the RDA way of doing it implies a lot more involvement on a short time scale, but it produces much more visible results. So,
yeah. Yeah. Now, Shing, I think the pathway to what you described is kind of outlined a little bit already in the Space 3.0 list of things. Yeah. Like, because when we talk about Space 3.0, we go, well, okay, we are aware of all these other metadata standards out there. And in particular, just as an example, the IVOA UCD. You know, one of the questions is, do we want to start tagging our parameters with UCD rather than SPACE's enumerated list, right? Or maybe we add UCD as something extra.
Well,
you know, those are things to consider, and it's part of using other metadata standards to the community's advantage, right?
That's right, but we're not treating Space 3.0 as a separate working group, right? Space 3.0 is to take the output of working groups and then decide what to put into 3.0. So,
well, no, I was thinking that 3.0 would be the thing that would, in the current working group list, its main focus is on what you just described. Is how can we improve the SPACE model and looking to other information models to map that out? Because the SPACE group itself is the organization that's going to take the input from all the other working groups, including the 3.0.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
So there would be, and I agree that's a good, so there would be a working group on SPACE metadata, SPACE 3.0 metadata extra metadata assessment, something like that.
Yeah, but I think if we're talking about a working group on Space 3.0, that's with the express intention of going with the SPACE model. We just improve SPACE.
Okay, so let's do it this way, metadata assessment.
Which is different from saying that, well, there is a segment of the community out there who may insist on using another model. So the question is, how does IHDEA help with the communication or the gelling of the two community? If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, that's a whole different path, because
that's
I thought
right.
IHDEA was supposed to be.
So there's the fourth year.
IHDEA was supposed to promote the current best practices and currently most widely adopted models.
I'm not eager to see us just wildly proliferate and have everybody have their own model and we make lots of bridges. We've really resisted that, and I think it's been successful. And if we have new things that come in from another source, we figure out how to incorporate them so that they're intrinsic, not that we have 4 different versions.
I understand that. But what I'm saying, at this stage, we're making the assumption that SPACE is the only one to be developed further, at least for heliophysics. We may come to that conclusion, but I don't think we can jump the gun at this point and say SPACE.
That was the going in position. That's where we've been for 10 years.
Well, yeah, I think there's not any other competitors, really. I mean, it's a matter of if there's other large communities we want to adopt to. Yes, we're not going to ask them to recast everything to SPACE, but for this community, there is nothing besides SPACE. It's not like there's a close competitor.
And it's also getting much wider international adoption. I mean, we had presentations earlier where people say, well, we're switching over, we're re-engineering all this to be more SPACE compliant, and then we want to start a discussion on doing something different.
No,
that would certainly discourage adoption.
No, I'm not saying that we should be doing something different. I'm just saying that we should go through a conscious exercise to come to that conclusion. We're still at the early stage, and we're basically making the conclusion for everybody who wants to join. If you're making that conclusion already, then you're turning a lot of people off to start with.
Well, I don't think so. But
Okay.
Well, the experience I have at CDPP, for instance, so the presentation that was given shown that they are adopting space. What they didn't really emphasize is that in their internal model, they have extra parameters so that they can extract, for instance, the Vespa keywords with things that are not in the space model. So they have extra things so that it can be mapped and
Okay.
so that the record can be extracted with a few extra items so that it can be mapped to another dictionary that is that serves another purpose. Because yeah, this is probably the thing that space is a registry data model, and you can have data models for anything. So having a data discovery data dictionary that is the Vespa one, for instance, is you can probably map most of the thing to space, but not exactly because the model is different.
There's a couple chat issues that have been brought up. I know Masha wants to talk.
Okay.
And there's a question about how astrophysics can be pulled in, or if it is going to be pulled in. That's from Rebecca Ringue.
So I don't see the chat form because I'm sharing my screen. So
Masha, I think she wants to speak up about some execution issues for models and things like that. So
I just want to first comment on the discussion now. Just from the past experience, I think space is great, but you know that's always a problem of software projects. They become live if they're going to be used. I think what is important to come, and your concept of working group is really great, to come up with very focused projects that can bring a broad members of community and come up with a project to implement space in some challenging set of models. And by doing this, it also will generate feedback what actually needs to be fixed into space. For example, there are a few ongoing projects like trying to make a library of all models that model ambient solar wind. And we are thinking about how to make a metadata using space and how to group that. And there is some disagreement how CCMC is doing it and how, Martin Rees and there is a group in Austria and other, doing that. So, and there is also what I had here, most of the model, even that simple as ambient solar wind, they have different components. So there is a need to include a scheme or standard way how to generate this scheme, how these different models are interconnected. So there is a few already. There is a few already lines in the wish list from scientists. So maybe we can take some, one or few simple tasks, but engage broader community and build that thing that utilize space together. And then first it will help to see what needs to be developed technically in space and probably will be developed at the same time. But also address the issue what you have, how to get buy-in from the community, how to really make them adopt it, not just on paper, but in reality. So that is my suggestion. And that's how we, at CCMC is working, always making a project, focused project, understandable project. Because you can never build a huge system that and anticipate what is needed until we'll start applying it project by project. So that's my comment to your discussion now.
Yeah, I have a question for you. At CCMC, did you assess and did you produce an assessment of the simulation extension of space?
We are now, what we start to do, we start implementing. And, till we're gonna, I don't know, well, there are a few CCMC folks there. So we start utilizing space as a base for redesign of our runs on request system. So our approach is that we first register all models into space. And then the next thing, what we wanted to register all our runs on request into space. And actually the idea was that the next iteration of runs on request will somehow read into the space database and will know what type of parameters should be included in this submission interface. So we're trying to do it all. So the space metadata is supposed to be a base for our runs-on-request system, but it is challenging. While doing this, we start, meeting problems or some ideas. For example, space has this notion as simulation model and simulation run. What we come up with that we need to have simulation settings and also choose using simulation template. So template is something that you register to make a sample run, and then you introduce options for each parameter, which options these parameters may have. So it's not really any specific run, but it can be used to generate runs on request simulation setting when you will already set all the parameters except the date. And you can use this for any, so it's a lot of ideas. I don't want to go into details, but there is things that is not there or haven't been actually anticipated or planned in space that we need. If that will be a working team that will help us to implement space for our runs-on-request system. That will, I think, the whole community will benefit, CCMC will benefit, and it will give a huge exposure to space. I'm done.
I'd like. Go ahead.
No, I'm done with my speech.
Okay.
No, I think
I just wanted to comment on that, though. I mean, what Masha describes is exactly how we want space to work. It's community-driven, community-defined information model. And we do additions. We're not trying to predict the best information model for a particular community or a particular need. We want to listen to the community and say, oh, we find space to be lacking in this area. We need these additions to an enumeration, or we need a new enumeration, or we need a whole new resource, like Masha described, a simulation setting and a simulation template. And the way the space model is defined is there's two parts to it, right? There's the dictionary, which has a set of terms that are defined and agreed on. And then the structure, how those dictionary terms are assembled, which we call the information model itself. It's the schema. And I think that approach has worked really well because we got the simulation extensions. Originally was based on the dictionary and then an adaptation of it for simulations. I think we've got the direction set that is going to be very effective for the future. So, and I think what Masha describes is a great example of how it can work. It's symbiotic.
Yeah. So, Masha, do you have a list of people or groups that would be interested in joining this work? I guess that the people from the past IMPEX project would be interested because they proposed the first simulation extension. So there would be CCMC plus so the people in Toulouse and in Graz, I guess. Who would there be also?
Yeah, I think it's also experience if you have a working group. It should be really focused and it shouldn't be very big. And now we are working on redesign our runs-on-request system. So there is a perfect, and we want, as I told, we want to make space as a center of this, as a backbone. So I suggest that if anybody, of course, IMPEX group or whoever interested to work on this now, and it doesn't have to be a lot of people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Help us to implement it. And what we're doing, we're trying to implement it like domain by domain. For example, ambient heliosphere first, because, and then proceed to other. Because if we will implement it to smaller domain, there will be some lessons learned, and then we will proceed to other.
Yeah.
Because we can do, one focus group cannot really focus on everything, but we of course can coordinate. So it's either a few multiple groups, but then we can diverge. So I would start with something. And the good thing about it, if we will accomplish, for example, this ambient solar wind, then we will make that we support this, ISWAT working team that Martin Rees is working, and he will give a lot of exposure. He's very active, and he can consult us and tell what he wants. And I have, my strong opinion, which is not 100% now in line, even with other CCMC folks. But I have been thinking about this a lot, and we are converging. So we're discussing it almost, on monthly basis. So that is perfect topic for one of your working groups.
Yeah, okay. I had one question for you also, and this is probably linked to the other question on the IVOA, for the astronomy standards. For the run on request and so the interface to submit jobs, we've been exploring, so the astronomy world has a standard for that is called Universal Worker Service. And this is something that that is very generic, and that is a layer on top a typical job managing system like Slurm or other. So I wonder if you have any plans to have either if you have your own standard API, or you would be interested in adopting a community-wide standard API for submitting and retrieving jobs results?
I think we're definitely interested to become part of the network. So we want community to agree on something, and we're willing to use that. But again, submitting the run and putting in this database is sort of multi-stage project. So for example, our users going to the web and they're filling the form. And then at the end of the form, there is some outcome. So it's run directory created, and things are not entered at this stage in the database, basically because of security issues. So that's we need to decide. So it's generating some file which collect all information from users. This stage is very important because in which form information from users are stored. Because if this will be standard, send to any entity that providing simulation services, and the same request can be executed at CCMC or somebody else. And really how the front-end interface look, it doesn't matter. What's important, what this front interface will produce. And
but this means that on your side, it's only a web form. You cannot use a script to launch a run.
We don't have it now, but we can. I think that's really we want to do it.
Okay, but this okay.
That's not probably for all models. It's
no,
very
of course,
important, because we are running different runs. Some are very simple, and I would be happy for simple run, so everything will be automatic and we don't have to babysit it. And then we have more expensive runs, and then we have special runs which we pretty much manually configuring, because the science is always running ahead of what we are capable of automate. But for the simple runs, I think to launch them remotely, that would be great. But again, I'm not an expert here. But, so I'm explaining in plain English instead of using API. I'm just saying there is somebody submitting a request, whether through web interface or remotely, and it's end up in a file or in a command that can be understandable by our system. So if API can include everything that user wants, and it include actually downloaded files and images and a lot of things, that's fine.
Yeah, that exists already, indeed. But it has to, be adapted, but it exists already, yes.
Yeah, we need, of course, we have now a person, I don't know whether Maxim Petrenko is participating now, but we have really no experience and open-minded new lead, software developer of that. So yes, I put it in the wish list when I look what is done outside. So it would be great. So I just in the bottom line, somebody, it will have liaisons who can advise or help us to modernize our system, and at the same time building this standards and maybe modifying it, taking into account obstacles or blockers or what we will meet by applying. That would be really good. We are ready to become short. We are ready to be guinea pigs.
Okay. So there was a question about the astronomy models. Who was that from? Sorry.
Rebecca Ringet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Ringet.
Can you formulate the comment? Because I don't have the chat on my eye here.
Sure. The thought. So I come from doing analysis and working with a group to pair astronomy observations with solar wind data.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to continue and probably get more detailed. So that's where my question is coming from. So the idea would be to plot in some sort of system a variety of solar wind data at magnetospheric variables versus, say, count rates in a particular energy band in an instrument. So working from the heliophysics side using space are those metadata systems compatible? Could I search both types of data sets using space?
Sounds like you can.
But astrophysical observations, the answer is no. We do not support that. And that was a conscious decision, because the fundamental idea in much of the astronomical thing is
it depends on what quantity she's actually observing in the astrophysical system.
No, and what she's asking is, can we search in space for astrophysical data? The answer is no. At the moment, it's no. But it is possible to pull out astrophysical data if we indeed merge, at least find a way to connect with the astrophysical interoperable standards, and then that's easy. And this is done. Yes, for instance, a mapping between georesource and space that could help. But there must be a search engine on top of space, and at the moment, I'm not sure we have that.
I think maybe Python will help us a lot, because there's AstroPy is being incorporated into SunPy and more generally into PyHC. So there are coordinate systems, and so you can define where you're looking and use Python AstroPy capabilities within the context, and so you can incorporate the different tools and make them integrated in that way. I would think that would be a good way to go.
What I heard this week that goes in a sense that would be that could make Rebecca happy is that, for instance, the VSO is implementing a TAP client, a table access protocol client, to search for images, solar images in other databases that are implementing TAP interface, and TAP is the main protocol for searching astronomical observations. So if you have a TAP client, you can search into all the what is called the OBSTAP observation databases of the astronomy. So that would be the easiest way to do that.
And it's not necessarily that you're going to merge TAP and space or something.
No. This is not the point.
Together in a Python session, you have access to all these different namespaces, essentially, of routines. And then with the coordinate systems can be chosen interoperably. and you can then combine things. It's got a ways to go to be realized, but.
I don't want to lose sight that, Rebecca, you said that you wanted to search for magnetospheric data or solar wind data and to try to pair that up with it. And so at least, SPACE would allow you to do that. That's why I said originally, yes, you can, but it really does depend on what parameters you're looking for.
Right. Okay, thank you.
There's some more chat coming in. There's a suggestion that we're losing focus on working groups and discussing SPACE.
Yes, I agree.
Marco Molinaro had 3 comments, I think.
Yeah, that was in reaction of the discussion on the link between the astronomy and the geophysics.
I think.
Okay, so you can see.
I basically read them when I answered to Rebecca because I agree with Marco.
I would suggest to have volunteers now.
Yes, yeah. So now we have a preliminary list of working groups, and we have to have names and people participating who are willing to contribute. So, shall we go through the list and see who's interested, or people? So, who's interested in discussing the naming authority issues? Basically, it means how we organize the registry.
Ching.
And these are things that are
Todd on there too.
Yeah. Brian.
And Lee.
Okay, so this is the SPACE group. It would be nice to have external people, but external people have a bit don't have any idea of what we are talking about. So that's the problem, probably.
I'm going to be interested, but I don't have to put my name down.
You don't want to put your name down here?
Sure, put my name down. Okay.
Yeah, of course, but this is the SPACE mailing list, so it doesn't bring too much.
Right, that's what I'm saying. we are going to discuss these issues whether or not we call it a separate working.
No, but the thing is that if we say so, if we do that, it means that there will be a page on Confluence, and people can have a look and then come in.
But I mean, we need to associate, maybe not now, but we need to associate all the data providers that are associated with these names. So I'm thinking about the suites, for instance, that are now present here.
Yeah.
But,
so what we need is one person at least per naming authority that is listed on GitHub.
So
and
we make sure we contact those that are not in part of this working group at the moment. So we have at least one person per naming authority.
So there must be someone from CNES, there must be someone from DLR, because there is a new DLR naming authority, MT1, that has been created.
The IHDEA.
That's right. We need an IHDEA representative.
Yeah,
we've certainly been discussing things with them, so I think that's a natural thing.
And,
okay. Do we keep this one on the maintenance and testing and validation, or is it too technical and this will be done anyway? We need to put that at ID level.
I think it stays there, and I think best practices or quality control need to be added to that as well.
Okay.
And, we do have some people from IHDEA online, I believe. We might as well try to twist an arm here.
Well, people will speak if they wish to speak.
Sure. You know what I mean, and they have an opportunity to speak.
Yeah. We will try to do it. So on this one, so what would be the outcome of this working group? To have a testing validation suite on GitHub that can be deployed on all repositories. So it's really more technical, but we need some technical people also to do this kind of job.
Yeah, we're kind of close to being able to deploy something already. I was looking into it yesterday, but
okay.
I think it's just a little bit more than that, because we need to make sure that what we're providing in our descriptions actually allow services to leverage space metadata. I think there's some reticence because of quality issues across all the
Right.
that we have.
Right. See, there's two parts, right? You can validate that it conforms to the information model, but you also need content review to make sure it can achieve what you wanted.
Yes.
To begin with, we can just have the same group of people, I would assume, and then anybody else can join.
Yeah, we can do that.
And also, it would be good to, once we have this preliminary list, to put it on the ID website and offer people to join, if they wish to.
Yes. Okay. So for the essay, I propose this one to have an assessment on the scripting interface for launching runs. So I don't know if is this something that people are interested in? So maybe we can leave it for later, but I think this is so. The coordinate system standardization. There was a lot of discussion yesterday about this one. So who's interested? I think we all know what it is about after the discussion yesterday.
Yeah, this is a big can of worms, like we were saying, but it's something that we can, I think, address. And the first attempts are going to be interesting and hopefully not taking us down the wrong path.
So you just got volunteered, John.
No, I want to be on this. I have some ideas, and I have some people in my group who I already talked to them about, proposal opportunities where we can try things with this using Spice.
Yeah. So here there is already, as I said, an ongoing work. So we have to work together. So I put also Steve Joy here, that most of you know, because he's doing that also on the IVOA part, and this should be the same work.
Somebody from SunPy, I think,
would be good. Yes, indeed, or even So
the SpeedAsk folks had some great use cases. Where that's where it really matters if it works.
Yeah.
So please feel free to add me, Jim Lewis.
Okay.
Great.
And it would be good to have someone also from Spice. In the end, because that would be good, but
one of the people in my group, if I can sort of reference, he was on the NAIF team for a while, so he's taught the NAIF classes and stuff. So he's not in the organization anymore, but he's definitely an insider. One of the things that I can't volunteer him because he would never want to do this, but I can channel his opinion.
Okay.
And Steve Joy is really an expert on Spice use.
Yes, that's true.
And coordinate systems. So if Steve joins in, you got probably one of the best, knowledgeable people on Spice.
Yes, but we need to find Steve Jobs' time. That's the other point.
That's true. That's why I was trying to chime in. So when COVID dies down, I will go back to UCLA.
Okay.
And so I can see him face to face and maybe help with taking some of that time effort away from him.
Okay.
So Laura is here. Maybe we can ask her for SunPy.
Yeah, I'm happy to be part of this from SunPy.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And also, I don't know if we talked about yesterday, but the Python package SpicyPy. I don't know if people have used that.
We can ask for SpicyPy in this.
Andrew Annex.
Yeah.
So you can add me there too.
Who? Lee?
Yeah, for /T joy kind of.
Okay.
So, Baptiste,
Yes.
I liked what you did on the first working group where you kind of had what's the goal or the outcome.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Here, I think the statement is an unambiguous classification or way of specifying a coordinate system.
And I think
because right now, when we just say GSM, there's ambiguity in there, and we want a way to say this is really unambiguous.
Yeah, basically, this is the work that we are trying to set up with some of Steve Jobs' time within the IVOA to have a reference list of reference frames for the solar system, so that if people put a name somewhere, we know what frame it is because it's a pointer to a definition or a SPICE kernel or whatever, but and a reference.
Right.
And maybe also in this list, it's a sort of reference list with synonyms. If you find if you find a reference frame, you find what is the official name or the synonyms. So this kind of it's a huge work. So this is why it's not finished.
Should there be an AstroPi involvement here, or is Steve Joy count for that?
Maybe.
AstroPi is what
it would be great. It would be great if I don't know where SpacePi, SpiceyPi, or SunPi, or AstroPi if they could implement all these reference frames, but it's not there yet.
SunPi will bring in the AstroPi.
Well, SunPi has the goal of solar observation, not in situ observation. So might be difficult
they've been including that
to have in situ observations if there is no solar observation associated.
AstroPi has been taking on all units everywhere.
Yes, yeah. I tried.
So I like this statement that the naming reference should refer to some actionable thing that's definitive. That's why SPICE.
Well, this is yet another story, but.
That's the piece I'm interested in, is that if you give it this, maybe there's a DOI to this frame transform or something where it's, you know that this is the transform that was used because it's still an actionable thing that you can go and set. That's definitive. That's not like just a list of names.
Yes.
You have the kernels, you can do the transformations. That's the definition of this frame.
I think we can definitely state that there is a unique set of names for SPICE kernels. Their system.
Well, no.
That's not true.
This is a problem in space at the moment, and this has to be. So there are names for bodies, unique names for bodies and spacecraft and whatever. For frames, they are defined for given bodies. So even for the Jupiter systems, system frame system, for instance, they have to be defined within the Juno kernels, the Junos kernels, and the Galileo kernels, and those are different frames. Even if it is the same definition, it cannot be defined as a global on a global scale in space now. In SPICE now, so there is something to do in space. In SPICE, sorry, to have globally defined frames. This is not done yet.
Oh.
Right. I like John's suggestion that it should be an identifier of some sort, something, a very solid link. Yeah.
Could be a DOI. There are other identifiers out there that are linked to reference frames. For instance, the people who are doing solid surfaces, either planet or Earth, there is a registry of reference frames, and maybe we could add things into this one. So there are things out there. We have to do a sort of review of what is there.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know about those, but that would be good. Yeah, you put it, because it's a kind of a generic problem. If you can, get enough of the different perspectives included, you could solve it for everything. Although it's always a risk starting premise.
Having something that solves everything is probably not the right goal.
Right.
Unless you want to speak.
If you start to include AstroPi, and
yeah, we can, but
physics,
I don't know who. I have no contact there, so.
So
I think
it's kind of like
So about the contact with AstroPi, so in SunPi, if we've found that we need that would be better, cast up to AstroPi, then they are receptive to changes. But there's probably use cases in in situ observations that AstroPi is not really considered. So that would be a conversation to see, how much AstroPi would be willing to adapt their frameworks to account for the needs of in situ coordinate frames. But it's something that they are open to. So you could sort of mediate that, like you could imagine like a pull request for a space physics frame that would get talked about in AstroPi, and it's happened for SunPi. So it's not impossible, I think, to involve AstroPi, but they're very different use cases.
Yeah. I know there are some applications where we could mix in situ measurement in the magnetosphere, and for instance, for the X-ray telescopes, they need to have the local particle, some local particle measurement. And so they need to be able to link with other models. So I'm sure we can find some use cases where that would be interesting to do.
So one last thing as well, it's been very useful to have, we have one paper in solar physics, the Thomson 2006 paper, where that defines coordinate systems, and that is absolutely crucial. So I don't know what the equivalent is, and I found a couple of equivalent papers in space physics, but I don't know if there's a final. Is there
the old one by Chris Russell, I think.
Sorry, what was that?
There's an old one by Chris Russell that people go back to.
That's one of the ones that has actually some ambiguities about the frame definitions.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
If you give it to the
early
folks. Yeah, it's close, but it's not actually definitive because there's some discrepancies. That could use a refresh.
Yes.
Yeah, there is the Hapgood papers in 92 and 97. There's the Thomson paper in 2006, the Friends and Harper in 2002. So that, and Chris Russell, that is quite old. So there are plenty of papers, and they are listed in the reference in the link that I just put here. So this is our first assessment that we had of just listing reference frames. So that could be a starting point of this discussion.
Oh, you need to scroll down so we can see the bottom. I see. No, I see.
Yeah. Okay. So next group was about the IHDEA website and the community awareness. Any comment on this one?
Well, you can put my name down for the website part.
Yeah, because you are doing it.
I'll put me down too.
Yeah. But
this is sort of
what to do.
I'm hoping that Todd is going to have his name down as well.
Yeah, you can put me as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Todd has to be included here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can put me down. The question I have on this, go ahead. What's your outcome?
No, I'm waiting.
Oh, okay. That's kind of my question. I mean, a lot of times you want to organize a website to highlight the things you consider most important in your community, right?
Yeah.
And where we're really lacking is, I mean, we kind of have a standard page with, simple lists of names of things and stuff like that. I think there's a lot more depth we can put into the website. And maybe it's just a content issue. We're just not, what was put up there was just sort of a framework that the intent was to fill it in with more content later. So again, I think it's kind of a, as we add these working groups and stuff, they ought to be highlighted, maybe off a page. There's different things we can do now.
So I think it would be probably we have to reshape the website with the international after this meeting.
Yeah, at the SMWT meeting every other week, we have a standard agenda. One of the standard agenda item was to discuss all the various website statuses and improvements. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to expand that and invite anybody on the IDEA community to provide input. One of the observations was right now the IDEA website is pretty lonely in cyberspace because nobody else is pointing to it, for example. So we really need everyone to work with us and make sure that the IDEA becomes a community.
Yes, but my feeling, because this is, and this is not my feeling, this is the comments I got from my French colleagues when I told them, there is the ID meeting, please come in. They said, but what is ID? So I sent the website and they came back to me saying, what is ID?
Yes.
So I had to explain what we were doing and how we were working because it's probably too high level and too vague, and probably we assume that people understand exactly what we mean, and for outsiders it's probably I don't know how to say it.
We need to rewrite it so that it's clear.
Well, we need to define ourselves by what we've done, right? That's why I liked your idea about the working groups existing for a time to focus on a specific task. We're the group who drove Space 3.0. We're the group who created this, coordinate framework thing. We're the group who allowed space registries to connect. Right. Once we have that, then that's who we are. It's what we've done. So I think that's got to be kind of the focus.
We're going to create a separate page to list and describe all the working groups. The working group is one of our main activities. Okay. That's how we work. I mean, that's right. So we need to explain all that.
Okay.
I think what Baptiste is talking about, though, is the top level where when you go in, you ought to know within a fairly short time what this is all about.
That's right.
I've been in that group as well, and I would suggest that, I work with scientists all the time that barely know what space is and things like that. So I kind of get a nice outside perspective. So I think I can probably help with that.
Yeah. That's true. Most of my colleagues, they just ask me, but why are you doing this kind of thing? Is it really interesting? So we have to show that there is an interest for science.
Actually, the same thing. Not just IDEA. I mean, you can say space too.
Of course. And IVOA and IPDA, all those things. Yes, of course. So one thing probably that could be added there, it's probably a link to, because we are saying we have recommendation, we propose standards, we have data format, metadata, APIs, tools, all of this you can click and say and have more. But nowhere we link to data portals or data repositories that are implementing those standards and that are the community ones. And I think that is missing because here it seems to be just a high-level discussion on a theoretical way of accessing data, but there is no data.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
a good point.
That's one of the points that I tried to make in my introduction, or in the space/happy inside discussion. Right, because we don't know who's actually using all the stuff. Even the space group doesn't have a good collection of who actually is using space.
The HPDE page does have all the data providers and all that on it.
But as you say, HPDE is the US part of IHDEA. So
that's right.
But it certainly refers to all the foreign and other things within it.
But I'd like to kind of touch back on what John said too. I mean, how do we define ourselves, right? And if you go to the IDEA website, I mean, there is an opening statement about what IDEA focus is. And I think because the IDEA website is supposed to represent the IDEA organization, right? And we're defining ourselves to the extent of what is our goal for the community. It isn't necessarily supposed to be the world's portal into all data.
We also we also have a link to the charter.
Right. So I'm surprised that your colleagues, Baptiste, didn't know what IDEA was.
Because they don't know
about them after they look at the homepage.
Well, on the homepage they understand, but it seems quite high level. And if they go to recommendation, they understand FITS and CDF maybe, and Python, and the rest they don't know what it is.
Just referencing things that they don't think about or care about much. It's not interesting, or it doesn't relate to their daily flow.
And even if they use it, they don't know they use it usually. So. True.
Well, I mean, that just says that we're a victim of our own success.
Of course, but it's.
You want to call it that, yes.
For instance, in the visualization for the tools, there's a list of tools. There could be, screenshots to have some more visual things that show what we are talking about, and that could remind what things on what it is. Well, I think there's some work to have something that. But once we have all the working groups, I think it will be already better because that gives some flesh onto those bones that are here.
Yeah.
Baptiste?
Yes.
This is Bob McGuire. I might join that website community awareness discussion also.
Okay.
Bob, that's good.
Thanks.
I need to do something. I mean, just sitting here.
Yes, this is it. Okay. Then there was this discussion about tracing the usage of the Python libraries, and I added why not also the IDL software and the Java clients when they access a data portal or a database, so that it can be traced and we can have an idea of the adoption of such and such tools. So who would be interested? So I guess the outcome first would be to decide how we do that.
I'm not clear on what it is.
This is what we
clicking download.
Yesterday. I mean, basically the import module on the Python libraries are hard-coded to import such and such data sets. So with this REST API or TAF server or different other methods, and in there we could add an optional parameter that they would add saying it's HelioPy, it's SunPy. It's really a minor update on their side, and on our side we would know because of this parameter if the request comes from people using SunPy or HelioPy or PlasmaPy or whatever. And it could be also maybe for space or for SPIDAS or Autoplot. I was thinking maybe. And this is just for us to know if most of the requests come from Python users or IDL users or. And then we can feed back to this library saying, there is this amount of terabytes of data that were requested specifically from your library.
And I think at the ID level, having this kind of way of quantifying the access of the users, it will help us to measure if our action has an impact or not. Since if most of the people are just using the web form of all the database to download their data and not the tools that implement the interfaces that we are promoting, then it means that our action is not so successful. So I think that could help us also to see if what we are doing is adopted by scientists, and then it also helps us to do reports on our activity.
Isn't this more an archive things? I know that SPDF, for example, keeps track of how many web service requests versus how many FTP requests, etc.
Right.
And that's an implementation at the archive level rather than something as an external.
No, but the difference is that if you have a web service access, you can count it. But if in the web service parameters there is the name of the library that is accessing the service, then you can feed back to the developers of the library that their tool is used so much.
Yeah. So it's good for the people developing the libraries, and it's good on our side to say, okay, if 80% of the traffic comes from Python libraries, then we need to maybe put some more resources on the Python side, you know?
I'm not understanding how this is a community activity as opposed to just something that's implemented in any given archive.
Oh, I think it's a community activity in the sense that you have all these different data providers that they have access logs that they're collecting, and you'd like to have something in it so you can distinguish which package made that request. Because in Python, you're just making kind of a URL request to the data, but you don't know which package was really making that request.
Right, that's what they all are.
And so that's part of the problem, is having enough information in the log to know which package made the request. And I think the community thing is, if you can define a standard way of capturing that metric, you can then aggregate it across all the data providers to provide a community level report about usage based on a common set of metrics.
Yeah, and then it will help you, Aaron, to know what to fund, because you will fund probably the tools that are used.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It seems like you've got to get buy-in from all the different groups. What would it be? Different clients?
Yeah, but we have a scheme already. We use the user agents for that. So.
Yeah, there are two options. There is user agent or an extra parameter that Arnaud and Beatrice were talking. I think the user agent is the safest way because it's completely generic and it's not depending on tap or whatever. But
but maybe that couldn't be discussed, you know.
Yes, this is what I put. How to do this? First is how to do it.
So let's not come to the conclusion right away.
Careful also, Christophe speaking here. The difficulty, in my experience with statistics or this usage statistics, is the biggest difficulty is not is to agree on what they are, and you can lose a lot of time and energy in trying to define to find common statistics across different tools, different archives. And I say that because we've had endless discussions at IHDEA about these metrics we want to measure about the usage statistics of archives, on the risk of them being misinterpreted by whoever would just read them. So at the end, it's a lot of discussions on the real benefit is not obvious.
Right, and especially for access, you don't know if they're bots accessing or actual users, and there's a lot of filtering that can. There's a lot of things that can skew your reporting results, and it's a difficult task.
So anyone interested or?
I think, Baptiste, you're already quite optimistic with the number of working groups here.
Yeah, I know. But this is what I told at the beginning. I think it's too much. But
I'm not sure this even is really a working group thing. It's a couple people sitting down and defining how to do it. It sounds like Bobby and Baptiste could sit down in half a day and tell us what we should do.
Beatrice, maybe.
If you can put me out, it's better because I don't have time. But so this is why putting this on the Confluence page helps, because I can read it when I have time.
Well, I love this kind of data.
We need someone from PyHC, I think.
Yes.
Well, you can add Jim Lewis on behalf of SpeedAss anyway.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so people will add their names later.
As well.
Sorry?
Helen Middleton was interested.
Okay.
Jeremy.
I didn't hear it. Jeremy?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Good. Then there was the long discussed Space 3.0, so we won't discuss them again. I think I split them into two pieces, but this can be reworked. I think I want to group all the working group metadata, the community metadata assessment in one goal, in one group, if you are okay.
Okay.
Looks good.
Okay, so who would be interested in there? So of course I put myself.
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
Okay. I will put Veronique because she had some ideas on the UCDs. There must be someone from Hugonet, I guess. Oops. From Amda and Arnaud Francef, who would you propose for the cluster exchange format?
Well, I think cluster exchange format, definitely someone like Chris Perry from RAL or Harry Laxo.
Yeah, but they would be interested or to discuss that or not?
Well, I can contact them for sure.
Okay, so I put this way.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Should be somebody in a solar context as well.
Yes, so probably the people from, Veronique knows also the SolarNet, and they have done a lot of things on, but I can put also somebody from SunPy and to at least to have an idea of who we can reach.
For CEF, you can add Ellen.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, she volunteers, you see.
Yeah, okay.
Yay! Woo!
For the other one on space is more generic. So there was the discussion about the architecture of 3.0, but this is probably an outcome of all the rest. So this is for later, I suppose. Todd, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think there's a separate discussion on the architecture that should be ongoing while the other working groups are going on.
But this is, yeah.
So there is an activity there, and part of it is we should at least identify areas of the current information model which we think need work.
Yeah.
Or improvement, and then form working groups if needed to resolve those things.
Okay.
And one of the topics, and it's somewhat touched on by the metadata assessment, is how we might get integration with other information systems. SPICE is a good example, or the identifiers for coordinate systems. Identifiers like under access information, maybe even there, I mean, maybe we can put identifiers in other systems or identify what other system will provide you more information about that resource.
Yeah.
For example, it could be something in astrophysics where it has an identifier, and the information, access information, gives a URL or an identifier, allows you to go into that other system and get more detail.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these types of topics I think we could discuss in terms of an architectural philosophy.
I think all of this needs to be discussed within the space group, so you can certainly put the space group there to start with. And then
that's the space group is kind of the natural place this is going to happen no matter what.
Okay, so this one probably will could start from the space group and then try to put draft notes on the wiki page and start from there and see.
Yeah, for people to comment on.
Yeah. Okay, and then there was the working group on Happy. John, do you want to have? So, do you think it is necessary to have a separate working group or dedicated to Happy, or to?
Yeah, I mean, there's already a group that's working on it, and we sort of acquired an ISWAT label as well, although that hasn't really resulted in anything. So, I mean, we can certainly have a group here. I would welcome input from European interests, and the Japanese want to look at this too, and other groups. So, yeah, I think it would be great to have a touchstone spot for international participants.
Yeah,
I think if people have a voice, they're more interested in committing to something like this.
And then on this one, the outcome on this specific working group is participating to the ongoing development of Happy, or are there specific things that you want to focus on?
The focus here needs to be adoption at other data centers. So if the working group is for people who are interested in bringing it to their institution, or for bringing it into their tools. This is a support place to, if there's features that you need in it in order for us to support your organization, then join the working group, make your case, and we'll either explain how what you want is really not the right thing, or we'll make some changes.
Yeah, okay.
So I have a question there. I mean, other than Happy being a recommended best practice, what is the working group in IHDEA supposed to do? Is it just promotion, awareness, community awareness?
No, it's the place for people who want to participate some, but not in the, weekly grind of the telecoms. They want a voice, but they don't want to have to be in the nitty gritty of it. So it would like, Beatrice and her crew, they're thinking about putting Happy in. So if they come into any issues, this doesn't work, they could join the working group for a few months or for a year and say, here's what we need to see for this to happen.
So what I propose for the rest, and I will write it here, for each group, we need to have a chair. Nobody talks now.
Listening?
So one chair plus co-chair probably, so that it's the point of contact and the people who are trying to organize the work in the group. And it would be nice to have a one paragraph statement of what they think the group should do. So that we have a kind of roadmap of what we are doing. And this will be very helpful for the IHDEA website. Plus 1-2 paragraph roadmap or charter or whatever.
Purpose statement, whatever. Yeah. Statement of purpose.
And goals. I like
goals.
Make it actionable.
Yep.
By the time you tell us you succeeded,
So now it's self-organization, unless people can volunteer now. Wants to volunteer now.
I volunteer for the happy one.
Of course, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm hesitant to volunteer because I like to see other people step up. But I also, if you want to try and resolve the chair thing now, or maybe when their working groups start to meet, maybe they can select someone.
But basically, the chair and the co-chair will be the editors of the pages.
Yes.
So I have a general working group question. And as you mentioned, I think in IDOA, they have lifespans.
Yeah,
right?
And they are rotating chairs regularly.
Well, not just for the chairs, but I mean for the working group itself.
Yeah.
If they're tasked with coming up with a solution for a particular thing, they ought to provide that within a certain time frame, maybe 1 year.
So that was that is the Research Data Alliance frame.
Yeah.
IVOA is so there is the data model working group, application working group, semantic working group, and each of those they are producing standards and recommendations. But
But within those, they have projects, right? That have limited time frame.
Wow. They decide on their time frame, so it can last for a long time.
Well, I guess my point being is I would like to, especially when we're talking about coordination and information model releases and things like that, those it would be nice to have some sort of schedule.
Yeah, I can add that. I agree. Yeah. So where am I? Oops, yes. Here. Okay, my computer is okay. Schedule.
Just a quick question. The standard for execution interface, is that a standalone working group or is that part of?
Could be standalone or could be part of the previous one. The previous one was more on the extension of, so I didn't put anybody here because basically there was not so much people didn't really react it there.
This is modeling, right?
It's more for modeling, yes. Yeah,
so it's the CCMC.
I guess so, yeah, but I don't want to put the CCMC names without. Yeah. So in the frame of, at least in Europe, in the next 3 years, we are going to assess the interface for run on demand on heliophysics. So we are going to do this assessment. Doesn't mean that CCMC will be happy to use it in the end. But,
yeah, I'd like to be on that, but or hear about it. I can't. I'm not the person to chair it.
Yeah, here is Beatriz also interested on that one because.
You already have UWL clients, so server. Sorry, so you know how to use it. At least you can run it. Because this is so UWS is part of the astronomy standards that are implemented in the servers that ESI are using. So it is already there.
That's it.
Is that part of the people mentioned the open cloud development?
Part of the assessment that we are going to do during the next 3 years in Europe is to set up this interface on top of cloud resources.
Yeah, because that can make it a lot different.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know who wrote that, but that's not me. Okay. I can lead this one probably. I should not do that, but me do it. So here so shall we all decide now for each working group? It would be good.
I think if we can identify chairs, then
yeah, that would be nice.
Then it doesn't just languish, because then there's a belly button.
Yeah. So for the first one.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily volunteering, but for the first one, is that where we're going to be worried about the open metadata? We haven't talked about that at all today, about sharing metadata.
Sharing
open, so that everybody has access to everybody's metadata, unless some people don't want to.
Because naming authority, Git spaces, and all that.
Yeah, this is the, but the open meta, the GitHub repository
has a lot to do with maintenance. That's why I brought it up here.
Yeah, this is the maintenance, of course. No, I don't understand. If the metadata are not open, we can not use them. So
right. Yeah. So, for instance, I know one group, maybe it was Onda, I can't remember. They have a lot. No, it was Kines, has a lot of metadata. And they're not quite ready to open up to us yet, but it sounded as if they would like to in the future.
Oh, yeah. The plan is to open it. It's just that it's not ready.
Yeah, open metadata is a goal. If there's reason for people not to open their parts of the metadata, that's their concern. It's
of course
their prerogative.
Of course.
I mean, you don't need a working group for that.
Well,
open or for something they're closed.
Well, though, we could add access to the metadata to that working group, because we can say, okay, here's how we recommend making the metadata open.
Okay.
We come up with a list of recommendations. Put it in the GitHub under HPD. Actually, put it in any GitHub, or have a particular method of access. So I think there's room there for us to kind of give guidance, at least, for opening the data. So, and I think the registry, organization, and maintenance is the right area for that.
I agree.
I agree with Lee on this one.
Okay.
Because we can certainly make a statement, right, Lee? I mean, that's the goal. It's like,
it's absolutely the goal. I mean, every bit of metadata we have, at heliophysics at NASA is available to anybody in the world. They can clone it, they can use it, so they can serve out the data.
Let me stop you. I need a chair, and then we need to discuss for for next year ID meeting. So we need to keep some time to discuss that. So who's chairing this one?
No volunteers. Wow.
All right, I'll start.
Good. I was hoping you would.
So Xing?
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
On the simulation models, I don't want to put Masha's name if she doesn't want. I don't know if she's still here. Yes, if she's still here.
She can delegate to someone else.
So I put CCMC as a lead.
Yep.
But the people from Toulouse are not here, I think. So it's I don't know if did they.
Yes, I am here.
Okay. I was more thinking of Vincent or Nicolas because they did the job. But,
of course.
Yeah. So we can put CCMC, and this probably will there will be some discussion on the coordinate system. I could, but I can't do I can't do everything. So either I do this one or the previous one, but I can't do both.
How about Jim Lewis? Do you want to step up?
I suppose I can.
This is then this will be a collaboration, and as I said, there is a lot of material already existing. So the idea is to really work together. On the IHDEA website, Rain?
Oh, I could, unless Xing or Todd want to do it.
I'll do it.
Xing? Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then there was the Python libraries or other usage. So I did a comment from Marco Molinaro, who said that in the IVOA for the astronomy, there was a similar discussion, and it was decided to use the user agent in the astronomy frame.
McGuire said that too.
To me, that sounds like the right approach.
Yeah. So we do not talk about the approach, but we need a chair. Patrice, do you want to share that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Sorry, you have to deal with you will have to negotiate something somehow. For the space group, I keep the space. Maybe I need a name. Todd.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Do you see Chu's question, by the way?
No. DOI, adding DOI. Yeah, we didn't put.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, but we can do that. That's easy because there's plenty of material on DOI. So on data, on data resources, data collection on data. So I put Chewy. I can be there too. I guess who else? The idea would be.
I need to be on the DOI one.
Yeah, I think the idea would be a recommendation to on DOI for data.
Yeah, put me on that, please.
Yeah. There are plenty of, so we have done that partly, the PDS has done that, there are plenty of material. That's an easy task, I think.
Well, yeah, it kind of fits into that metadata assessment too, where it's
yes, I think it's a different scope in the sense that here, probably it's to provide support to teams with the recommendations and guidelines to do it properly. Yeah. With the schema.org metadata and everything, how to implement it. And the previous one is probably how to map or add the keywords into space so that the metadata is already there. To me, it's a bit different.
Right, but I would maybe move that into the DOI on data discussion.
Yes, okay.
Or the group.
That one?
So, yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, because there's already been preliminary discussions of how we might capture the information in space, and it's coming out of that kind of working group.
Yeah. Okay. So who chairs?
I can.
Okay. Okay. So I think we have a nice starting point. No, there is nobody for chairing the community metadata assessment.
That's a big one.
That can be a huge work. And there will probably be sub-chairs.
We need to hire somebody, basically. We do. I mean,
lucky you if you have money to do that.
Well, we may actually have money to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely, someone like Chris Perry would be an expert in that.
Yeah, but I don't want to put names of people who are not here.
No, but we need to discuss with him first, of course.
They're leading this, at least organizing it, we need someone.
You could make a note here to contact Chris at least.
Yes. Helen, you could do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
What's the CEF stand for?
Cluster exchange format.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is for cluster and double star data.
Right.
But the metadata dictionary is quite complete, and I'm sure there are some good ideas to incorporate eventually in the space model.
It's kind of super space.
It's kind of super space, but I'm sure, since it's community driven, I think we should really incorporate the good ideas,
Yeah, well, it motivated a lot of what's in space.
And I have to say that reading the CEF metadata dictionary really helps a lot when you face CDF files, because this is very well explained and they have a lot in common, one format and the other. So it's really very complete. I think it's worth it to read it.
I think the ISTP metadata was incorporated in cluster, and then they moved to the CEFs and basically kept a lot of the same metadata.
Yeah, I think they moved to the CF because ISTP was too restrictive, so they didn't. There were things that did not exist in CDF ISTP, so that's why they expanded and created the CF.
Right, and so I want to kind of merge all those efforts together, I guess.
So Bobby, do you want to serve on this working group, or you can appoint someone? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean the ISTP guidelines are still the main ones for heliophysics. So
I'd like to join.
I was actually thinking of a different thing here, but you're right. But I'm talking about the internal metadata mostly.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And Bob McGuire was going to help me do that.
Another volunteer.
I still need a chair.
That's right. Bob could share that too.
Yeah, well, not here. Yeah. Who's volunteering?
Bob McGuire, the mowers were just here, so I can hear me for a moment.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Wow.
Welcome back, Bob.
Welcome back.
One thing that we've discussed here, I'm just so we have community metadata assessment. So going to metadata, we don't have anything about community interfaces, because there are other interfaces than HAPI that are there, and probably it should be discussed also.
Yeah, but Baptiste, I think we have enough now.
Yeah. I know.
Next year we will have other ideas. So I think there are already too many ideas here.
You could put that as an action item under the Happy Group to at least come up with a list.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of other interfaces. Here's what else is out there. Here's other options.
This is probably for the website. Yeah.
On the website. And for everyone actually within the IHDEA group.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to promote what we do.
Okay, so I think
I was not volunteering to be chair of that group. I'm sorry, there's too much background noise. Baptiste, I was not volunteering to be chair of that group.
Ah, sorry. I thought
I would participate, but I am retired. I'm not going to volunteer for chairmanships right now.
This is what I thought too, but
well, I'm willing to participate, but don't.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have a chair.
Maybe someone from EUGONET. We have nobody from Japan chairing group.
They don't have anybody logged on from IUGONET.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one has to be postponed probably for until we find somebody.
Yeah, I think the IUGONET connection needs some more discussion because the SMWT has been talking to them already.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Community metadata assessment is a big task.
Yes.
And this is something that I've talked about since I started, of how do we advertise ourselves, how do we make things such that people actually use them. And it's
So in the notes of yesterday, I think I put a link. No, it was on that was on the chat. I sent it to John. That was a link to a document that we did 5 years ago. To compare space, IVOA, and PDS metadata, so and UCDs also. So this is available, and that could be a starting point. Oh, that was to Lee. Sorry. Yeah. So I think it is on the notes, or I will add it. So that could be a starting point, or to see how we can work on that part.
Since it seems to be kind of partitioned by the different standards or whatever, maybe sub-chairperson should take.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will put chair, sub-chair, TBD here. And
I think what needs to be done is that maybe the people involved can elect a chair during the first meeting, but somebody needs to call the first meeting just to make sure that starts.
That's not Bob McGuire, right?
No. But at least we have to reach out to the Hugonet, AMDA, and other people, so to see who would participate. So not all the people are listed here. I propose that we go to the next meeting discussion.
Yes.
Because it's already 5 past the end of the meeting.
I already have another meeting started.
So, who is volunteering? Nobody?
So is this for a year from now, or
a year from now? Well, originally the Japanese group had volunteered for next year, but we just got a message from them that they can't do it next year, but they will do it the following year.
Yes, so I put this here. But next year. I could ask, I don't know if Veronique is online. All right, let me check.
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to, it would be both time in Europe, but you think this is something that can be organized in Brussels? You can say no.
I cannot say yes.
Of course. Yeah. But
it's also
SolarNet
to be
development.
seen, Baptiste, is also to be seen for 2001, for 2002. Do we do a fully in-person meeting, a hybrid meeting, or a fully online meeting?
I think it's impossible to decide now. It might.
No, I know, but the people who say they are going to organize must already have that in mind.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
And probably a hybrid meeting would be interesting.
Yeah. When I volunteered, I did not expect it would be a virtual meeting.
I can ask and come back to you. It's true that for Europe, at least, it's a central place. But,
and all the developments that you are doing with the Escape project and SolarNet would really fit into. It would be. I think it would be very useful that your team can host that. But yeah, it's not very far from Paris, so it's not a big change.
Yeah, that's it.
What about California?
Yeah.
Well, that's a possibility. I was wondering whether it should be in the U.S. I mean,
it all depends. There are elections in a few days.
It may be in California, kind of like last night I had crepes with Nutella and kind of trying to live the Paris life, but. So you guys may need to have sun lamps in your offices if they're going to have it in California. So.
Okay, so it seems that
we have a natural California organizer. I'm not sure we have.
It seems to be difficult to. So I think we need to call for volunteers. Maybe in some time frame, like in a month from now, on the ID mailing list, and then we try to do a short telecon to discuss that. What do you think, Shing?
That's fine, but we're talking about only a year away, so
I know.
we need to come up with some decision or recommendation fairly soon, so that the people can actually start preparing for it.
I know.
I'm really kind of in a sense lurking on this meeting in telecom. But I seriously question by next year that very many people are going to be ready to travel. This COVID thing and vaccines and everything. 1 year, I don't think is going to get us out of the woods.
No.
And so one option for 2021 could be to plan. Sadly, it's going to be another virtual meeting, and then stay focused there, and not try to kid everybody that really pull off a substantial physical meeting. But that's an opinion.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but I have to say this meeting was actually very good. I like the 2-hour time frame. The topics are tight. I thought this was very productive. I thought this was a really good format, the way you guys came up with it. So this could work next year too, as a format.
Yeah, we could go on this way. Yeah.
The only one drawback is that we put our Asian colleagues at a bad time frame.
Yeah.
That's why we need to alternate between Europe and probably the US if it's virtual, to have not every year that people have to stay up to 2 in the morning, to attend the meeting.
Yeah.
Or very early in the morning.
Like 5 a.m. here.
Like 5 a.m. It's not fair. It has to.
It's okay. It's okay.
The fortunate thing, there were only 3 people in California, I think, so it wasn't that much for everybody anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the local organizer would be in California at this point, because both Lee and Todd have unusual relationships to UCLA.
Yeah.
About CCMC, would they be interested?
Oh, they'd just be at Goddard the same. CCMC host is the same as Goddard.
Okay. I was thinking with Michigan, maybe. But
we don't really have, I think we have one person in Michigan.
That's all it is.
And he's mostly CCMC.
Okay.
So, I have a suggestion. If we decide that next year will be virtual, just out of being kind of conservative about how next year might look, then whoever hosts it simply coordinates WebEx and outlines and, kind of coordinates the notes and things like what Baptiste did. So we just need someone to kind of say they have the resources to, the WebEx access, all that kind of thing.
Well, this WebEx is thanks to ISA, and because I was planning to use Zoom, and that was not okay for the Goddard people.
We can provide the WebEx. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
We can do WebEx too. So
we've got the website set up now, and the collaborative thing. So those would just continue, right?
Right.
So is the recommendation that we will go virtual?
That's my recommendation. Then we can plan. So
I think we can do that.
So with this virtual organization option, who is interested?
The problem is you did such a great job, Baptiste. I would volunteer you, but
I'm just exhausted. But I was alone, so a bit alone.
You set the bar too high, Baptiste.
Yeah, that's it.
We're scared.
Is it? I'm trying to find the agenda page or whatever, but are we still talking October next year?
Yes.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, sometime in the fall. Oh, I have to say, there is an ISWAT meeting planned to be in person sometime. I think it's September, right?
It's second week of. I think it's second week of September. We plan to do it in Portugal.
In Portugal.
Rui Pinto is arranging this. The plan is we are trying to make it in personal because the nature of ISWAT meetings that have to be in personal. But he's making arrangements because it's university and they try to be flexible. So they try to make less commitment to hotel. And if it will not work in September, we will move it to spring. So in principle, sorry, I'm on grandma. So if we can, of course, have a session at ISWAT, if we will come up with a plan that there is something we will already start support at least one ISWAT working team, would be really appropriate, and it will finally, make the whole ISWAT community, and it means scientific community, to adopt that. Or we can make, back to back, in addition, we can make back to back. Planet is in October, it will be really good time.
The reason I mentioned that is because information architecture and data utilization is an ISWAT cluster, and what IDEA does feeds right into that area. And there's a natural connection between the two.
And again, the ISWAT is organized in the manner so it's not contradictory. For example, you establish a team inside IDEA, your website and everything. The same group can be also an ISWAT team. So it is. It just gives a team exposure. So the approach of ISWAT, we have the website, but each team may have their own website and do whatever they want to establish. So there is no, pressure for team merging or changing team's identity. So anything if we will start, discussing. Oops. Am I disconnected?
No.
No.
My computer is doing some. Okay, so we will try, if ISWAT will happen, we will have something in person, and we can, dedicate as much time as needed for that. If there is an interest, I can tell Rui Pinto that we need, for example, the full room, if it will happen, for information architecture discussion.
So can you remind us the week in September for the ISWAT meeting, Masha?
Let me. I need to check. I think it is 2021. I think it's the week
September
of
13 to 17.
Yes.
13 to 17. Okay.
If it will happen, and if not, we will move it to spring.
Okay.
And we probably make a decision about that spring this year. But the good thing that university is very excited to do this, so they will do all logistic and provide location. So it's huge relief. I don't have to do it in Florida. And they can probably organize virtual component of this nature if necessary.
Okay.
But I don't. Again, if it does what there is also Mario Busy. They have this very good Zoom subscription capability, and Mario is very open to support any ISWAT related activity. So any discussion under ISWAT umbrella dedicated to information architecture or IDEA can.
for the purpose of this discussion, I think, I brought ISWAT up just to bring everybody up to speed. There is such another group that's doing similar kind of thing that we could make connection with. So the question is, if we have our annual meeting next year, and if we all think that it's a good thing to make connection with ISWAT, maybe Arnaud and I and Masha and Baptiste can have a little subgroup discussion to see how that could work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we could still have our own separate meeting.
Yeah.
So
I think it would be good to couple it with ISWAT. I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah. So in that case, maybe we should have a separate discussion to see what ISWAT is doing, and then we can decide whether we have our separate meeting, or if they delay, we could also delay until spring the following year. That's okay. We don't hold ourselves to an annual schedule anyway. We say roughly annual, right?
Yes. And we have enough working groups to play with.
Yes.
That way we don't need to find a host.
We probably need to have some sort of midterm discussion in a few months or 6 months with telecons, with the working groups, to see what is if things have started or not.
Yeah.
By the way, there is one ISWAT opportunity that you can take advantage of. I probably Arnaud and Xing are aware about that. So we have been thinking to plan what we call virtual working meeting. Something spread all over the year. So the idea is so the team, and I put I think Google Doc. So teams can reserve a week when they can plan a discussion meeting, open discussion. So it's something that you're meeting with your team, but like in ISWAT conference, everybody can walk into the room. So it means people can join and listen. So, and of course you have, small team meetings just dedicated to idea topics. But if it will be something that will benefit for engaging more scientists, more science, broader community, that is a good opportunity. It haven't been, moderator didn't really do much work. We are going to have moderator meeting next week, and we can address that and maybe revive. But that is an opportunity. So, and what's good about this, Mario Bizia is organizing Zoom meeting. So he is taking care of pretty good online support. So it's something Arnaud and Xing as moderator of that cluster may think about, but it's pretty much open.
So are we done?
I think so.
Okay, thank you for inviting and organizing this, doing all this work. And I think it's just my point, it will take us a while to make scientists and the broader community to participate. And everything is there, it just needs to be used and adopted. So and I hope ISWAT will happen. And I will try to do my part. Thank you.
Thank you, Masha. Well, thank you all to have participated in a very lively manner. That was, as people said, very interesting. So we will try to digest the notes and put them on the wiki in some nice way. With Arnaud, we will do that, and Xing. And well, it's a pity that we didn't meet face to face, but I think it was nice anyway.
Hopefully next time.
Many thanks, Baptiste. I think indeed
Thank you, Baptiste.
It was a very good meeting. Many thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
So I think we can stop the recording, and
you.
Bye bye.
I gotta jump.
Bye. Peace. Merci.
Bye.